Over the last 2 decades, Wikipedia has become one of the most visited and most referenced websites on Earth. Nearly every one of us is familiar with Wikipedia's regular requests for donations, including urgent-sounding text along the lines of "Protect Wikipedia's independence," and "Without reader contributions, we could not run Wikipedia." That sounds pretty dire, right? Wikipedia must be in pretty rough shape. They need those donations, and they need them right away. If I don't donate, shoot, they might need to shut down, and surely they run a pretty tight ship with some pretty lean and mean operations, right? And surely, those funds that they have are being handled in a very transparent way. This is Wikipedia, after all. You know what? Just for kicks and giggles, let's take a look at the finances of Wikipedia, using all publicly available sources of documentation that we can get our grubby little hands on. IRS filings, the annual reports, audits, all of it. And we will see what the real financial state of Wikipedia is actually like, because this is the Lunduke Journal, and that is what we do. A little spoiler here. It's all really weird. It's really weird, and it is highly sketchy. And also, and I think this is an important takeaway from all the things that you're about to hear, a ton of money donated for Wikipedia is not used to run Wikipedia. It's a big deal. Now, before we go any further, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribes to the Lunduke Journal to make this possible. Everyone who subscribes over at lunduke.locals.com. You guys are getting articles like this one. I wrote this article and published it a couple days ago. They've been enjoying it for a few days. I've been doing a ton of this sort of thing lately. And this is the sort of independent tech journalism that you can't get when you have big tech money coming into your pocket. And the Lunduke Journal does not accept a single dime, not a dollar, not a nickel, not a farthing from big tech, from middle tech, from little tech, from any tech. We run no advertisements from any company ever. It is purely supported by all of you, so thank you. If you haven't yet subscribed, go over to lunduke.locals.com. It makes these sort of investigative reports possible, along with all the other just really fun stuff that we get to do. And unlike some organizations I could name, the Lunduke Journal spends every single dime received on the Lunduke Journal. Right? We don't take money. You don't think, I'm going to get a subscription to the Lunduke Journal, and that money gets funneled over to a car company in Akron, Ohio. No. It's just for the Lunduke Journal. There's no bait and switch here. Again, like some companies and organizations that I could and have recently mentioned. All right, everyone. Again, lunduke.locals.com. Go subscribe. Let us continue. The financial core of Wikipedia is the Wikimedia Foundation. The foundation itself is responsible for running the actual Wikipedia servers, and that is where everything else branches out from. Let's start with the most basic piece of information that we need. How much money does the Wikimedia Foundation receive in donations every year from people who believe that they are directly funding the Wikipedia servers and operations? Well, according to the most recent IRS filings, as of 2021, roughly $164 million for the year. Now, year on year, Wikimedia is seeing significant growth, with each year recording record donations, up an additional $9 million just between 2020 and 2021 alone. Now, while those numbers seem large at first glance, they really only tell a small part of the story. What if, for example, Wikipedia needs even more than $164 million every single year to keep operating? What are the various expenses of Wikipedia? Luckily, we have a high-level breakout of expenses in the yearly Wikimedia Foundation audit. It turns out that the costs associated with the server hosting for Wikipedia in 2021 was just shy of $2.4 million. Now, but server hosting costs are only part of the equation, right? There's also other wages and travel and all manner of expenses. So let's add it all up. After all is said and done, and all revenue and expenses are taken into consideration, the Wikimedia Foundation received over $50 million more than they spent in 2021. In other words, they made $50+ million in profit. Now, that doesn't sound like an organization that is hurting for funding, does it? Let's take a look back over the last few years, starting way back in 2015, and chart out the yearly financials of Wikimedia. It shows some absolutely astonishing growth in terms of total assets, which includes money in the bank. There's a few items worth noting from that chart. Number 1, server hosting related costs for all of Wikipedia related sites was $2 million in 2015, and it has remained mostly flat compared to income and other costs, only raising to $2.4 million as of 2021. And as of 2021, Wikimedia has over $231 million in assets on hand, ready to go. And that number is growing rapidly. I mean, just look at that blue line. It is shooting up. Now, assets and profit are growing despite a massive increase in salaries and wages, from $26 million in 2015 to $67.8 million in 2021. So, let's answer a burning question here. Does Wikipedia desperately need your donations in order to continue operating? And the answer is clear, no. Not by a long shot. In fact, if donations dropped significantly, there would be no hit to Wikipedia operations, certainly not for quite some time. When Wikipedia tells you they need your $5 donation to keep running, they are lying to you. They don't. In fact, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are also 2 unique financial entities related to Wikimedia that are extremely strange: the Wikimedia Endowment and the Knowledge Equity Fund. Let's take a look at those. Back in 2016, the Wikimedia Foundation established what is known as the Wikimedia Endowment, with a goal of stockpiling $100 million worth of funding within the endowment. So what is the stated goal of the Wikimedia Endowment? Quote, "The Wikimedia Endowment is our enduring commitment to a world of freely shared knowledge, now in perpetuity." Okay, that's really vague. But that tends to be the way with these sorts of foundations. So what sort of work actually gets funded by this $100 million endowment? According to their website, they only give a list of, quote, select projects, not a complete list. And we also don't have any details of how much this endowment spends on any given project. It's not specific. It's not transparent. There's no amounts given. There's no dates. There's not really much of anything here. But we do know that the endowment did meet its $100 million funding goal and is still growing as of 2021. Quote, "As of December 31st, 2021, the endowment held $105.4 million, which is added up of $99.3 million in an investment account and $6.07 million in cash, with an additional $8 million raised in December 2021 due to be transferred to the endowment in January of 2022. Now, that was back in 2022. We're now obviously deep into 2023, and back then they had 105 plus 8, so that's, you can do the math on that one. So they clearly have over the 100 million. Now, here's where the Wikimedia endowment starts to get weird. From the time the endowment was created in 2016 all the way until 2021, the Wikimedia Foundation deposited $5 million of Wikipedia donations into the endowment, totaling $30 million according to the most recent Wikimedia Foundation audit. I'm going to read a quote to you here. if I can manage to squint my eyes to see it on the screen. The foundation has an agreement with the Tides Foundation that establishes the Wikimedia Endowment as a collective action fund to act as a permanent safekeeping fund to generate income to ensure a base level of support for the Wikimedia projects in perpetuity. The endowment is independent from the foundation. From fiscal years ended June 30th, 2016 through June 30th, 2021, the foundation provided irrevocable grants in the total amount of $30 million, $5 million per fiscal year, to the Tides Foundation for the purpose of the Wikimedia endowment. The amounts are recorded in awards and grants expense. But wait just a second. Two really, really big questions crop up from that paragraph. There's more to get into. Number one, if Wikimedia Foundation only contributed $30 million, which all came from user donations intended to go to Wikipedia, to the endowment, who contributed the rest of the money? Was it that's over $70+ million contributed. Was it a company? Was it a rich benefactor? It's not listed. It's not listed anywhere. And the second question is, what on earth is the Tides Foundation? Well, it turns out that the Tide Foundation runs and manages the entire Wikimedia endowment, all $100+ million from it. And here's a very interesting tidbit from Wikimedia. Quote, "The funds may be transferred from Tides either to the Wikimedia Foundation or to other charitable organizations selected by the Wikimedia Foundation to further the Wikimedia mission." Now go ahead. Think about that. Think about that for a minute. That Wikimedia endowment money, that $100 million, could go to, quote, other charitable organizations. Now, what are those? Well, the reality is we don't know. There's close to zero transparency about it. Whoever the heck Tides is, they have an awful lot of power here when it comes to this Wikimedia endowment money, again, which has $30 million of Wikipedia donations in it. Now, let's go further. What exactly is Tides? Well, this is what Wikipedia says about the Tides Foundations, and quoting Wikipedia here seemed an appropriate place to reference this, considering the nature of this article. Quote, "Tides Foundation is an American public charity and fiscal sponsor working to advance progressive causes and policy initiatives." Yeah. The Tides Foundation is a specifically political organization for funding, organizing, and pushing specific political agendas. I need to make it a little editorial note here. At the Lunduke Journal of Technology, we try our very best to stay away from politics. As such, we will not be discussing some of the many and varied political stances of the Tides Foundation in any detail here. But since Tides, and as we will see, Wikimedia, are making pointed political statements and investments, the Lunduke Journal will be including those and letting you make up your own mind about any political ramifications. So let us continue. Now, is it strange that Wikimedia donations are being sent by the millions to be handled by a political organization, that an organization that only does political actions? That's all that they do. They do nothing else. Yes, that is most definitely very strange, considering Wikipedia has repeatedly stated the importance of neutrality. It's incredibly weird. But it gets even weirder. Neither Wikimedia nor the Tides Foundation publish details about how those funds are being used. It appears to be a secret. It's not a joke. But considering what the Tides Foundation does, it is something political. Again, because that's the only thing that the Tides Foundation does. And it's not only on, and it is only on one side of the political spectrum. It is not neutral. It is not neutral like Wikipedia says that they must be. And the ties between Tides and Wikimedia go way, way beyond just managing that $100+ million. In fact, back in 2019, the Wikimedia Foundation hired a new general counsel. Now, where did that person work in her previous job? You guessed it, the Tides Foundation. She went from being the Tides Foundation General Counsel to the Wikimedia Foundation General Counsel. Directly. Seriously. Oh my gosh. So what do we know here? First, the Tides Foundation manages and runs all 100+ million of the Wikimedia endowment. Donations to Wikipedia paid for roughly 30 million of that endowment, with the remainder coming from unknown sources. 3. The Tides Foundation exclusively does political work for one part of the political spectrum. 4. The connections between Wikimedia and Tides run very, very deep. And 5, neither Tides nor Wikimedia have published how that money is being used, which brings us to yet another area where Wikimedia is investing Wikipedia donations in ways that are extremely political and not at all about running Wikipedia. Editorial side note again. The Lunduke Journal, again. The Lunduke Journal of Technology is not going to tell anyone, not you, not your grandmother, not my dog, nobody, what they should or should not think about any particular political views. The official stance of the Lunduke Journal of Technology is that extreme politics of any kind tend to not be a positive force in the running of software and other computing and related projects. That is all. Now let's talk about the Knowledge Equity Fund. One more way that the Wikipedia donations are spent. This concerns a much smaller amount of funds than we previously talked about with the endowment, but the stated goals around it warrant documenting. Now, according to Wikimedia's official declaration of this project, quote, the Wikimedia Foundation Knowledge Equity Fund is a U.S. $4.5 million fund created by the Wikimedia Foundation in 2020 to provide grants to external organizations that support knowledge equity by addressing the racial inequities, preventing access and participation in free knowledge. Now, here are some quotes from the same Wikimedia page to provide clarity around their goals, because clarity is important. Quote, the Wikimedia Foundation defines racial equity as shifting away from U.S. and Eurocentricity, white male imperialist patriarchal supremacy, superiority, power, and privilege, end quote. And, quote, racial equity aims to promote non-white, non-U.S. communities, end quote. Now, whatever your thoughts around any of those statements, it should be noted that Wikimedia is spending $4.5 million worth of Wikipedia donations to further those goals. Money that is not being spent on running Wikipedia. In fact, it is worth noting that the dollar figure being allocated towards this Knowledge Equity Fund is twice the size of the yearly server hosting costs, which includes hardware, networking, the people working on it, all of it, for all of Wikipedia. Let that sink in for a moment. And that is a tiny, tiny fraction of where the money is going. So what does this all mean? Regardless of what any of us think about the specific political spending of Wikimedia, one thing is crystal clear. A significant portion of donations solicited for the stated purpose of running Wikipedia are being spent furthering political goals, not on running Wikipedia, all while Wikipedia is claiming to be barely surviving. And Wikimedia is getting rich in the process. Now, I had to cut back a lot on this particular article, because I really wanted to drive the point home of how the funds were not being used on Wikipedia. They were saying, hey, donate to Wikipedia. They were taking those funds and spending them on not Wikipedia. And that to me was the headline story number one. Now, do the executives make a lot of money? Yeah, I believe the CEO back in 2021 earned, I think it was $700,000 in an annual salary, something along those lines. Not astronomical compared to the likes of like Mozilla, where it's like 5 million or something like that for the CEO, but very high. And I spent some time initially on the first draft of this article going through a lot of those details, going through a lot of the grants, some of which go to projects that I personally like. Some of the grants go to projects that I don't like. It's kind of all over the map, but eventually I just kind of took out those pieces and really tried to narrow it down and focus it and make the point that the core of it is that Wikimedia is saying Wikipedia is basically dying. We need donations in order to stay afloat. Otherwise, we might have to turn the servers off. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. And then they turn around and they spread that money out among endowments and all sorts of things, most of which is really politically charged. So then the problem is really twofold. One, the money is not going to Wikipedia like you thought your donations were. And two, the money is not being used in neutral causes, which Wikimedia says it must be. So those are problems. So again, thank you to all of the subscribers who make pieces like this possible. It takes a fair bit of time going through. I tell you, going through 10 years or so of IRS 990 filings. Several audits and annual reports and reading every little bit of it and screenshotting it and putting together a couple of spreadsheets and charts. Oh my goodness. Talk about mind-melting work. But it's important because we need to be able to hold these organizations accountable. Sometimes they're organizations that we personally use and love. I use Wikipedia all the time. And so knowing what they're doing with those funds that I have personally in the past contributed to is a really important thing. And, this is something that we're going to keep doing. We're going to be holding organizations, foundations, companies, and the like accountable for what they do with the money that comes in, what they do with their donations, what they do in general, because we deserve to know. And it's amazing, but there is no publication out there that is really doing this on the technology side of things, and it needs to happen. It desperately needs to happen, and the Lunduke Journal is filling that need. So if you want to support this sort of work, the Lunduke Journal does a lot of fun stuff. If you go to lunduke.locals.com, 9 posts out of 10 are funny and goofy and retro and Unix nerdy and weird history and like the history of where the smiley emoticon comes from. I mean, it's just weird, random, fun tidbits of technology, but it also helps to fund some of the only pieces of serious journalism that are happening in the tech world right now. And so thank you to all of the subscribers. Go to lunduke.locals.com and at the very, very least, get a free subscription. That way you don't miss out when these new articles and the like drop. There's podcasts throughout the week. There's comic strips. There's other articles, fun articles, serious articles. But you don't want to miss these serious pieces as they drop. And the only way to make sure you don't miss them is to get a lunduke.locals.com subscription, or at least a free subscription. Just sign up for free. It's worth it. All right, everybody. With that, I do declare end this video. I'll see you later.